Sifiso. Tabete tried to land his signature backflip, but it cost him his life, while Giannis, a Greek bodybuilder, had his ego bruised so badly he snapped and charged at a judge. These are the most unforgettable moments when bodybuilders lost control, right on stage. Sifiso Tabete. Few incidents are as immediately shocking and heartbreaking as what happened to South African champion Sifiso Tabete in 2017. Tabete wasn't just any competitor. He was a beloved figure in the South African bodybuilding community, known not only for his impressive physique, but also for his charismatic stage presence and his signature move that would ultimately cost him everything. Sifiso Tabete was attempting his signature backflip during a 2017 competition when he lost physical control mid-air, landing on his neck and breaking it, leading to his death. The incident, which was captured on video and later circulated widely, shows the horrifying moment when what should have been a triumphant display of athleticism became a fatal accident that would send shockwaves through the entire bodybuilding world. Now, it's easy to criticize him for attempting something so extreme, but the reality is, in recent years, many bodybuilding competitors have taken their routines to new heights, literally. Gone are the days when only mandatory poses would suffice. Today's routines often include dance sequences, acrobatics, and dramatic flourishes meant to dazzle both judges and spectators. Tabete had earned a reputation for exactly that. His signature backflip wasn't just a stunt, it was a crowd favorite, a moment audiences waited for and roared in response to. But in 2017, during what should have been a routine performance, something went horribly wrong. As Tabete launched into his trademark backflip, a move he had nailed countless times before, something faltered. He lost control mid-air. The precise cause remains uncertain, but experts have pointed to the inherent risks of acrobatics in a sport where competitors are carrying extreme muscle mass and tight conditioning, both of which reduce mobility and increase injury risk. At first, everything looked fine. The takeoff was smooth, but within a split second, it all unraveled. Whether it was a slight misjudgment, a momentary lapse in spatial awareness, or an unlucky shift in his center of gravity, something went off. Instead of landing on his feet, Tabete crashed down on his neck. Some say it was the sock. He never wore socks during flips, but that day, for some reason, he did. And some believe that tiny change made all the difference. The aftermath was swift and devastating. Medical personnel rushed to the scene, but the damage was already done. The impact had broken Tabete's neck, and despite the best efforts of emergency responders, he could not be saved. What had begun as a celebration of physical achievement and artistic expression had turned into an unspeakable tragedy that would haunt everyone who witnessed it. The reaction from the bodybuilding community was immediate and profound. Fellow competitors, fans, and industry professionals alike were forced to confront the reality that their sport, while generally safe when performed according to traditional parameters, could become deadly when competitors pushed beyond those boundaries in pursuit of entertainment value and competitive advantage. The story of our next entry represents one of the most sobering reminders of the extreme physical toll that competitive bodybuilding can exact on the human body. Vinayaraj. In 2017, this 34-year-old amateur bodybuilder from Mangalore, India, was living his dream of competing at the district level, representing years of dedication, training, and sacrifice. But what should have been a moment of triumph became a medical emergency that would cost him his life, collapsing on stage during a district-level competition and suffering an acute heart attack while preparing for the second round, losing physical control and dying despite medical intervention. To grasp what led to his death, we should look at what many bodybuilders undergo weeks before their big day. There is a process known as peaking. It involves carefully orchestrated manipulation of diet, hydration, training, and sometimes pharmaceutical interventions designed to achieve the lowest possible body fat percentage while maintaining maximum muscle mass and definition. For amateur bodybuilders like Vinayaraj, who often lack the resources for professional coaching, medical supervision, or high-quality support teams that professional competitors might have access to, this peaking process can be particularly dangerous. Many amateur competitors rely on internet research, advice from gym buddies, or trial and error methods to prepare for shows, often without fully understanding the physiological risks involved. In the final weeks before a show, competitors typically reduce their caloric intake to extremely low levels, sometimes consuming fewer than 1,200 calories per day while maintaining intense training schedules that might burn 800, 1,000 calories per session. This creates a massive energy deficit that can stress every system in the body. Simultaneously, bodybuilders engage in dehydration protocols designed to eliminate subcutaneous water and create the paper-thin skin look that judges prize. These protocols can involve dramatically reducing water intake, increasing sodium, and then eliminating it, using natural or pharmaceutical diuretics, and engaging in intense cardio sessions designed to sweat out every possible drop of excess water. For Vinayaraj, the combination of these extreme measures proved fatal. As he was preparing for the second round of competition, a moment when his body should have been displaying the peak of physical conditioning, his cardiovascular system simply couldn't cope with the demands being placed on it. The extreme dehydration, severe caloric restriction, and physical stress of competition competition created a perfect storm that led to acute cardiac distress. Witnesses described seeing Vinayaraj begin to struggle during the preparation phase, showing signs of distress that initially might have been dismissed as normal pre-competition nerves or the typical discomfort associated with extreme conditioning. But within moments, it became clear that something was seriously wrong. As he collapsed, it was immediately apparent that this wasn't a simple case of stage fright or minor dehydration. This was a medical emergency of the highest order. Emergency medical personnel were called immediately, and every effort was made to save Vinayaraj's life. But the damage to his cardiovascular system was too severe, and despite the best efforts of medical professionals, he could not be revived. What had begun as a celebration of his dedication to the sport he loved became a tragic reminder of the ultimate price that some bodybuilders pay in pursuit of physical perfection. As I mentioned earlier, for most competitors, the months leading up to a major show represent more than just physical preparation. They're the result of grueling hours in the gym, relentless dieting, and thousands of dollars poured into training, supplements, and entry fees. It's an all-consuming commitment, so when the judging doesn't go their way, the fallout can be intense. For some, the disappointment boils over, leading to outbursts so explosive they leave audiences and fellow athletes stunned. Jahid Hassan Shuvo. In the 2022 BABF National Bodybuilding Championships in Bangladesh, a competitor named Jahid Hassan Shuvo got so frustrated with placing second, he had one of the most dramatic emotional outbursts ever captured at a bodybuilding competition. The outburst, caught on camera and quickly shared across social media, captured Shuvo's raw, unfiltered reaction to the disappointing result. Instead of responding with the composure usually expected in the world of competitive bodybuilding, he let his emotions erupt. In a flash of frustration and fury, Shuvo lashed out, kicking his second-place prize, ironically a blender, clean off the stage. It crashed to the floor in front of a stunned audience and speechless competitors, turning the moment into an instant viral spectacle. This emotional outburst, attributed to perceived judging corruption, led to a lifetime ban from the Bangladesh Bodybuilding Federation. The aftermath was swift and severe. The Bangladesh Bodybuilding Federation, clearly taking the position that such behavior was completely unacceptable and could not be tolerated regardless of the competitor's emotional state or perceived grievances with the judging, imposed the harshest penalty available, a lifetime ban from all federation-sanctioned competitions. The incident sparked intense debates throughout the bodybuilding community about multiple complex issues. On one hand, many sympathized with Shuvo's frustration, acknowledging that bodybuilding judging can sometimes appear subjective or inconsistent, and that the emotional investment required for high-level competition can make disappointing results particularly difficult to accept gracefully. On the other hand, the consensus was that Shuvo's behavior was completely unacceptable and set a dangerous precedent. Bodybuilding competitions depend on maintaining a certain level of professionalism and respect for the judging process, even when competitors disagree with the results. Allowing emotional outbursts and disrespectful behavior toward competition organizers and prizes would undermine the integrity of the sport and create an environment where similar incidents might become more common. From Shuvo's perspective, the incident represented the complete destruction of his competitive bodybuilding career. The lifetime ban meant that years of training, preparation, and dreams of competitive success were ended in a single moment of lost control. While some argued that the lifetime ban was too severe and that Shuvo should have been given an opportunity for redemption after a suspension and public apology, the Bangladesh Bodybuilding Federation held firm in their decision. Next up we have Paul Dillett. Among the most haunting and medically frightening incidents in bodybuilding history is what happened to Paul Dillett during the 1994 Arnold Classic. Known in the bodybuilding world as Freakenstein for his massive size and incredible muscle mass, Dillett was one of the most imposing physical specimens ever to step onto a competitive stage. But on that day in 1994, his perfectly conditioned physique became a prison that trapped him in a moment of complete physical helplessness that nearly cost him his life. During the 1994 Arnold Classic, Paul Dillett experienced severe dehydration and cramping, causing him to freeze on stage, unable to continue posing. The incident, which was witnessed by thousands of spectators and caught on video, showed one of the sport's most powerful athletes reduced to complete physical helplessness in a matter of seconds.
Being like 2 weeks before that show, a week before it golds, Paul was like super dry, super shredded, and come the day of the show, he thought he wanted to be a bit harder, so he took a 40-milligram injectable Lasix.
For Dillett, the combination of his already extreme preparation and the additional diuretic created a perfect storm of physiological distress. As he stood on stage attempting to perform his posing routine, his body simply shut down. He was carried off by officials, having been clinically unresponsive for a minute before being revived.
And on stage, he went to do a relapse sprint pose and locked up like an ironing board and had to carry him off like an ironing board. They grabbed his arms and legs and just carried him off stage, but that almost killed him there, just from the Lasix. Just took everything out of him and his body cramped from head to toe. So That was pretty bad.
The severity of Dillett's condition cannot be overstated. This wasn't simply a case of muscle cramps or minor dehydration. His entire body had gone into a state of complete physiological distress, with cramping affecting him from head to toe and creating a situation where he was genuinely in danger of losing his life. The use of powerful prescription diuretics like Lasix, a furosemide, had become increasingly common among elite competitors, but as Dillett's experience demonstrated, these substances could create life-threatening situations when combined with the already extreme dehydration protocols that were standard practice in competitive bodybuilding preparation. This incident highlighted the risks of extreme weight-cutting practices that were becoming increasingly common in the sport. Dillett's experience served as a wake-up call for the bodybuilding community about the potential consequences of pushing dehydration and conditioning protocols to their absolute limits. From a medical perspective, what happened to Dillett represents a cascade of physiological failures brought on by severe electrolyte imbalances and dehydration. When the body's fluid levels drop to extremely low levels, the normal function of muscles, nerves, and other vital systems can be compromised. The cramping that Dillett experienced was his body's desperate attempt to protect itself from further damage, but it also created a terrifying situation where one of the world's strongest men was completely helpless and unable to control his own body. Remarkably, Dillett continued his career until 2012, showing incredible resilience and determination in returning to competitive bodybuilding after such a traumatic experience. His ability to overcome the psychological impact of the incident and continue competing at the highest level speaks to his mental toughness and dedication to the sport, even after experiencing firsthand how dangerous it could be. The tension that builds during a bodybuilding competition can be overwhelming for competitors who have invested months or even years preparing for a single moment on stage, but rarely has this tension exploded into actual violence as dramatically as it did with our next entry. Giannis Magos. The Greek bodybuilder Giannis Magos completely lost control at the 2016 IFBB Diamond Cup in Greece, creating one of the most shocking and controversial incidents in the sport's history. At the 2016 IFBB Diamond Cup in Greece, Giannis Magos won his weight class but placed second overall. Enraged, he did this.
He's right. Oh my God.
The incident, captured on video and later shared widely across social media platforms, showed a competitor's frustration boiling over into physical violence and complete abandonment of the professionalism expected in competitive sports. The moment of violence, as captured in the competition footage, shows Magos approaching the judging panel with clear, aggressive intent. Rather than accepting the judge's decision with the grace and professionalism expected of competitive athletes, he physically assaulted Judge Armando Marquez, slapping him in front of shocked spectators and fellow competitors. But the violence didn't stop there. In his rage, Magos also began flipping tables and creating general chaos in what should have been a celebration of athletic achievement. Similar to Jahid, this led to a lifetime ban from the IFBB, demonstrating that the International Federation of Bodybuilding had zero tolerance for such behavior regardless of the competitor's emotional state or perceived grievances with the judging process. The lifetime ban represented the complete destruction of Magos' competitive bodybuilding career, ending any hope he might have had for future competition or redemption within the sport's governing body. What makes Magos' incident particularly disturbing is that it crossed the line from emotional outburst into actual physical violence against competition officials. While other incidents of competitors losing control have involved property damage or verbal outbursts, Magos' decision to physically assault a judge represented a completely unacceptable escalation that threatened the safety and integrity of competition officials who volunteer their time to support the sport. The incident prompted discussions about athlete behavior and the role of performance-enhancing substances in potentially contributing to explosive emotional reactions. While it would be inappropriate to speculate about Magos' specific preparation methods or substance use without concrete evidence, the bodybuilding community did engage in broader discussions about whether certain preparation protocols or substances might contribute to emotional instability or reduced impulse control. The psychological factors that contributed to Magos' violent outburst are complex and multifaceted. Competitive bodybuilding preparation involves months of extreme physical and psychological stress, including severe caloric restriction, intense training loads, and often significant social isolation, as competitors focus entirely on their preparation. These factors can create emotional volatility and reduced ability to cope with disappointment or unexpected results. The lifetime ban imposed on Magos, while severe, sent a clear message to the bodybuilding community that such behavior would not be tolerated under any circumstances. Our next scenario involved two rivals nearly losing it on stage: Kai Green and Phil Heath. The rivalry between Kai Greene and Phil Heath represented one of the most intense and personal feuds in modern bodybuilding history. Both men were elite competitors at the absolute pinnacle of the sport, each possessing the size, conditioning, and stage presence necessary to win the most prestigious title in bodybuilding, Mr. Olympia. Their rivalry wasn't just about muscle mass or posing ability, it was deeply personal, fueled by years of competition, contrasting personalities, and the enormous pressure that comes with competing at the highest level of professional bodybuilding. In 2014, during a high-profile bodybuilding competition, Kai Greene and Phil Heath, two of the sport's top competitors, nearly engaged in a physical altercation on stage. The tension between Greene and Heath had been building for years, with each man representing a different philosophy and approach to competitive bodybuilding. Heath, known as The Gift, was the reigning Mr. Olympia champion, possessing incredible genetic potential and a confident, sometimes brash personality that rubbed some competitors and fans the wrong way. Greene, nicknamed The Predator, was widely considered Heath's most serious challenger, bringing incredible size and artistic posing ability along with a more philosophical, intellectual approach to the sport. The situation was serious enough that one of the commentators had actually placed a bet on potential violence. The fact that experienced bodybuilding observers were actually betting on whether these two competitors might come to blows speaks to how obvious their animosity had become and how real the threat of actual violence was. The tension, likely fueled by competitive rivalry and the pressure of the event, required judges to intervene. The fact that competition officials felt compelled to step in and actively separate two professional athletes during what should have been a routine comparison round demonstrates how seriously the situation had deteriorated and how real the threat of violence had become. What makes the Greene-Heath confrontation particularly significant is that it involved two of the absolute best bodybuilders in the world at the peak of their careers. These weren't amateur competitors struggling with the pressures of their first major show, or aging veterans dealing with the frustration of declining performance. These were elite professional athletes who should have been the standard bearers for professionalism and sportsmanship in their sport. No physical harm occurred, but the incident became a notable moment in bodybuilding history, reflecting the emotional intensity of the sport. While the immediate consequences were minimal, both men completed the competition without further incident. The long-term impact of their confrontation was significant for both their personal rivalry and the sport as a whole. The incident highlighted the need for better conflict resolution and professional conduct standards in competitive bodybuilding. While passion and intensity are positive attributes in competitive sports, they must be channeled constructively rather than being allowed to escalate into potential violence that could endanger competitors and damage the sport's reputation. For fans of both competitors, the confrontation was simultaneously thrilling and concerning. On one hand, the intense rivalry and genuine animosity between two elite athletes added drama and excitement to the competition that captured public attention far beyond the normal bodybuilding audience. The incident generated significant media coverage and social media discussion, bringing increased visibility to the sport. Next up, we have the infamous exchange between Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler. While most of the incidents we've discussed involved physical confrontations or medical emergencies, one of the most memorable moments of competitors losing control on stage came in the form of a verbal exchange that perfectly captured the intensity and psychological warfare that can occur between elite bodybuilders. The confrontation between eight-time Mr. Olympia champion Ronnie Coleman and his persistent challenger Jay Cutler represents one of the most quotable and defining moments in bodybuilding history. The setup for this legendary exchange occurred during the height of Coleman's dominance in the early 2000s. Ronnie had already established himself as perhaps the greatest bodybuilder of all time, with multiple Mr. Olympia victories and a reputation for incredible size and conditioning that seemed to set him apart from all other competitors. Jay Cutler, meanwhile, had emerged as Coleman's most consistent and serious challenger, placing second to Ronnie in multiple Olympia competitions and growing increasingly confident that Coleman's reign was approaching its end.
I have great respect for Ronnie, but people say this guy is unbeatable, and I don't agree with that. Everyone's beatable on a certain day, and I'm gonna win this Olympia eventually.
When Coleman was given the opportunity to respond to Jay's bold assertion, his reaction became one of the most memorable quotes in bodybuilding history.
Jay Cutler said you were 100% beatable.
Hey, I'm hot.
What do you say about that?
I say Jay Cutler's smoking crack. He ain't in his right mind.
Coleman's response was shocking in its directness and crude language, representing a complete departure from the usual diplomatic responses that, champions typically give when discussing their competition. Coleman's decision to respond with such inflammatory language suggested that Jay's challenge had genuinely gotten under his skin and provoked a reaction that went beyond normal competitive confidence into personal offense. Coleman's harsh response gave Ronnie extra motivation and validation that his challenge was being taken seriously. Rather than being dismissed or ignored, ignored. His assertion that Coleman was beatable had provoked such a strong reaction that the champion felt compelled to respond with personal attacks rather than simply confident dismissal. Ultimately, Jay Cutler's prediction proved accurate. Despite Coleman's dismissive response and continued dominance in the short term, Cutler did eventually defeat Coleman to win the Mr. Olympia title, validating his claim that even the greatest champions are beatable on the right day. Breon Ansley and Bumstead. Bodybuilding veteran Breon Ansley sent shockwaves through the Olympia press conference with a dramatic, unscripted moment that left fans divided and competitors stunned. During classic physique champion Chris Bumstead's speech, Ansley stormed the stage, stripped off his shirt, and struck a full pose, all while Bumstead was mid-sentence. To top it off, Ansley casually tossed his shirt over Bumstead's shoulder, treating the reigning champ like a human hanger. The crowd erupted, unsure whether to cheer or cringe. For a moment, the tension was palpable. Was this a stunt, a declaration of war, or simply Breon trying to reclaim the spotlight he once held as a two-time classic physique Olympia champion? Chris Bumstead, ever the composed competitor, didn't flinch. While many would have snapped under the pressure or responded in kind, Bumstead simply smiled and let the moment pass, a display of confidence that only solidified his dominance in the division. But the incident has sparked a fierce debate across the bodybuilding community. Some fans praised Breon's boldness, calling it a necessary shakeup in a sport that often plays it safe. Others saw it as disrespectful and desperate, the move of a fading contender grasping for relevance. Whatever the motivation, one thing's clear: Breon Ansley made headlines and reignited a rivalry that could make this year's Olympia one of the most emotionally charged yet. Whether it was performance art, mind games, or a true challenge to the throne, the moment will be replayed, dissected, and talked about all the way to the main stage.